Alright, y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today, what I want to go over is I'm just going to break down a basic credit card terms. We're going to look at the Citi Double Cash card. We're going to look at its terms, and what I'm trying to do is I'm going to teach y'all basically how to read the terms and kind of familiarize y'all with the terms. That way, when you look at them, you're not just looking at them and you're like, well, I don't understand what any of this means. So, in today's video, I'm going to try to help y'all out there. That way, maybe y'all understand kind of what you're looking at and what applies to you when it applies to you. So, and what I'm going to do is we're just going to take a look at this Citi Double Cash card's terms. Now, most credit cards will follow this same format. It won't be one to one exact, but it'll be pretty close. So y'all will get an idea by me going over this, kind of what to expect. So in the top box here, they're just going to give you, like it says, the annual percentage rate for purchases. So when you go out with the card and you make a purchase on it at like Walmart's, well, if you let the balance carry over, then these are the interest rates that they're going to charge you for that purchase. So that's always in this box right here. The next box right here is the APR for balance transfers. Now, to start off with, what's a balance transfer? A balance transfer, very simply put, is if you got a debt on card A from bank A and you apply for a card from bank B, and what you say to bank B is, I got a balance on card A, can I transfer it to this card B, with bank B? And if they say yes, then that process of moving the balance from one card to another is called a balance transfer. Now, some cards will do something like this. They'll give you what's called an introductory APR. Basically, they're incentivizing you to move your debt over to their card so that they can have your debt, and they're giving you an incentive to do so. In this case, with the Citi Double Cash, their incentive is 0% introductory APR for 18 months from the date of first transfer. Now, you have to, according to this, you have to complete the transfer within 4 months of the date of account opening. If you don't complete it within the 4 months, then this 0% APR won't apply. So, and then it says, here's where they catch you. After that, your APR for balance transfers are these rates. So they give you the introductory period. They're like dangling a little carrot saying, hey, you get free money or cheap money for this amount of time. Well, where they get you is they're hoping you don't pay that off in time so that they can make interest off of you, and you're basically you're in debt to them with high interest rates. So be on the watch out for that. But that's basically what the APR for balance transfers box is referring to. Next up, we have this one right here, the APR for cash advances. Okay, so let's quickly go over kind of what a cash advance is. A cash advance, in a general sense, would be like me going to an ATM with the credit card, putting the credit card in the ATM, and withdrawing cash. Okay? Now, when you do this with a credit card, it looks to the credit card company like you're higher risk. They're like, what are you doing with the cash? We don't know what you're doing with the cash. So, most of the time, not all the time, but a lot of times, the cash advance APR will always be higher than the than the regular APR up here for purchases. Not all the time, but most of the time it'll be higher. So that's kind of the idea there. Is it's a different APR. They're basically kind of like penalizing you for being a riskier customer. So that's what the APR for cash advances is. Now, right here, APR for the Citi Flex Plan. Now, this is a program specifically that Citi does with their credit cards. And I really haven't looked into it that much. So on this deal, do your own research, figure out what it is. But from my understanding, the kind of general idea with the Citi Flex Plan is it's a way to basically get like a loan through your credit card, if that kind of makes sense. So it's like, let's say you have a $5,000 limit on your credit card, or a $5,000 limit on your credit card, and you need $2,000 in cash. You need a $2,000 loan. Well, with the Citi Flex Plan, you can basically use the Flex Plan through Citi and get the $2,000 as a loan that shows up on your credit card, if that kind of makes sense. It's a it's a little bit tricky, but that's the general gist of it. And for the Flex Plan, again, they got their own separate deal of APRs. But as you can see, we got a trend here. It's generally the same as the APR for purchases. So, kind of understand that. Now, right here, this box is where we get into some interesting stuff. This box right here is penalty APR and when it applies. Now, the penalty APR for the Citi is 29.99%. This box is something you always want to read and you want to understand it, because if you screw up, this will apply to you. And it can screw you very significantly, especially if you carry a balance of any kind. Which, don't carry a balance, most of this stuff won't apply to you. So, and it says this APR may be applied to your account if you make a late payment or make a payment that's returned. Let's say what they mean by return payment, let's say you write them a check to pay off your credit card bill and it bounces. That's considered a return payment. So therefore, they're going to hit you with this 29.99% APR from then on out. So just be aware of that. Pay your bill on time and make sure that you got enough money to pay it. Because if you don't, they're fixing to punish you pretty heavily. And then they say right here, this again in this box is something you need to read. This right here. How long will the penalty APR apply? If your APRs are increased for either of these reasons, the penalty APR may apply indefinitely. Now, what they mean by that is they put this little parentheses in here as may apply indefinitely. So they're basically leaving it at their discretion of whether they want to keep charging you as much as they can get out of you, or they want to cut you some leeway. And it basically depends on if Citi's feeling like they want to be graceful to you or not. Then we go on to the next box right here, how to avoid paying interest on purchases. This box will always be in these credit card terms, and now right here it'll say, or this one says, your due date is at least 23 days after the closing of each billing cycle. So once your bill cuts, you got 23 days, according on Citi's double cash terms, you got 23 days to pay it in full, and you will not get charged a penny in interest. If you don't pay it in full, then after these 23 days, they'll start charging you interest. Some credit cards don't have what this is. This right here is called a grace period. Some credit cards don't have a grace period. So as soon as you make a purchase, they start charging you interest right then or right there, and that can get real costly real quick. So be aware of that. And then it goes into talking about the Citi Flex Plan payment. But this box right here, and this box is basically talking about your grace period. That's always something to understand. You want to be very familiar with that, especially if you carry a balance for any length of time. We go on to the next box, minimum interest charged. This just simply states if they charge you interest, how much the minimum interest is charged. That's all that's saying. So pretty simple to understand. Then this right here, this is required by federal law that they have this box here. It says for credit card tips from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And then they basically tell you the website. By government law, they have to have that box in their terms. So next we go down to the fees deal. Here they're going to, we was talking about interest rates and stuff up there. Now we're going to be talking about fees. So this credit card on the annual fee right here, the annual fee has none. Some credit cards will have annual fees, and some of them will be extremely high, like $300 a year, or all the way up to like $550 for like, I think it's Chase Sapphire or something like that. But some credit cards have high annual fees. Some credit cards have no annual fees. So that's something you want to look at, and depending on whether you're okay with paying an annual fee or not, this can dictate kind of what you want to do. So now let's go on to transaction fees. Okay. Now this box can be bigger or smaller based on the credit card, because some credit cards don't offer certain things. Like for example, oh, my bad. It timed out, so I do apologize for that. But this box right here, transaction fees, or in this transaction fees box, some of these boxes will have more or they will have less right here. Some credit cards don't allow you to transfer balances. Most do, but some don't. So that might not be in here, so be aware of that. But in the case of cities, they have balance transfer, either $5 or 3% of the amount of each transfer, whichever is greater. What they mean by this is, let's say you want to transfer $1,000 over to this card. They are going to charge you for that transfer. They're going to charge you $5 or 3%. If 3% is more than $5, they're going to charge you the 3%. If the $3 is less than the $5, then they're going to hit you with $5. So basically, they want the most money possible, and they're going to hit you with whatever makes them the most green. Cash advance. Okay, now when you do cash advances, there's what's called a cash advance fee. This right here is specifying the amounts that is a cash advance fee. So right here in City's deal, they're going to charge you $10 per each cash advance, or 5% of the amount each time you make a cash advance. So if you take $20 out on your credit card, they're going to charge you $10 to take out 20. So you're going to owe them $30. Plus, they're going to hit you with this APR. That's why I say don't do cash advances. They will screw you bad. So then we go down here. Some credit cards have this and some credit cards don't. And it's called a foreign, well, they call it a purchase transaction, but it's a foreign transaction fee. Let's say you're over in Great Britain and you buy Pepsi. Well, for that Pepsi, they're going to charge you 3% of that Pepsi. So let's say that Pepsi over there in British pounds cost you $2 US. That $2 US that Coke cost you, they're going to take 3% and add to that on every purchase you make overseas. So just be aware of that. That can add up real quick if you travel and spend a lot on the card overseas. Then we go into penalty fees. Now, there are different penalty fees, and City's only got 2, but some credit card companies may have 3, 4, 5, 6 different penalty fees. So this is why you read the terms. But they have a late payment, and all that means is if your payment's due on Monday of the end of the month and you pay on Tuesday, they're going to sock you with a $40 late payment fee. So there you go. And return payment, we went over this. That just means that if payment gets returned, they're going to sock you with, now they say up to, but the reality is they're going to sock you with the $40. So you're going to get hit with a $40 charge and the payment is going to be reversed. Okay, so we get down here, how we calculate your balance. Okay, and then they say we use a method called the daily balance. It's complicated how they do it, but basically how to think about it is they, whatever the amount is at the end of the day that you owe on your card, they charge you interest on that amount every single day. And then as you reduce it, they charge on the new amount. It's complicated, but that's kind of how they do it. And then they go over loss of introductory APR. Basically, if you make a late payment, they're going to take away your introductory APR and sock you with the penalty APR because they want to punish you and make more money because you're risky. So be aware of that. And then right here is something to understand. Payment allocation. We may apply a portion of your payments up to your minimum payment due to the lowest APR balance first, including transferred balances. Generally, payments above the minimum payment due will be applied to your highest rate balance first. Always, always, always read this, how the payment is allocated. Because just because you make a payment to the credit card doesn't mean that it's paying off what you want. If you got 3 or 4 different types of balances on a card, it may be going to pay off one that you're like, no, I need to pay off the other one. They have the ability to basically take your money once you make a payment if it's not in full and basically shuffle it wherever they want. So be aware of that. Then we got prime rate. That's just basically they break down how they come up with the interest rates that they charge you. That's what that is. And then here they talk about identity verification. Basically, don't lie on the application because they will find out. If they gotta look up your information, they will, and if it's not right, they will cut you off and blacklist you. So don't lie on your applications. That's fraud. Communications, this basically says you agree to give them your phone number and they text, call, or email you. And then credit reports, basically you're giving them, by applying for the card, you're basically saying that you want them to have access to your credit file with the credit bureaus, is what that's saying. Credit information to receive your card, basically they're saying you must meet certain credit worthiness standards in order to get our card. And then your credit limit will be determined by the following: your annual salary and wages, any other income, and a review of your debt. They're going to look on your credit report and be like, oh, look at all these damn debts he's got. Yeah, we're going to give him like $500 limit. That's basically what they're doing here. That's what they're saying they do here. And then right here, we'll inform you of your credit when you receive. Some limits may be as low as, so their floor for a credit limit is $500. And then please note that cash advances may be limited to a portion of your credit limit. What this means is your cash advance limit and your total credit limit are 2 different things. Your cash advance limit will always be lower than your total credit limit. The reason why is because they don't want you pulling a lot of cash out versus if you go and spend a bunch of money at Walmart. It's kind of a risk thing for them. And then right here they talk about the card agreement, special notices. If you live in certain states, you might want to go down to the special notices and read for the individual states, because certain states have different laws that these credit cards companies have to abide by. So it makes sense to familiarize yourself with this part. And then right here is adding an authorized user. Basically, they describe how they allow authorized users, the process, the do's, the don'ts of authorized users. And then the balance transfer information. Here, they're just talking about the process of how to go through with making the balance transfer. Okay, and then things you should know about your balance transfer offer. They're just going into detail, basically saying how payments made to your credit card, if you have a balance transfer offer, will be applied. So this is a tricky one. Read this, understand it. That way you don't basically think you're paying off the offer when in reality you were paying off purchases at a really high APR. So make sure you read this and understand how it applies. And then down here they talk about their rewards program. Some credit cards don't offer rewards at all, so this section won't even be in there at all. But all it just describes is how the program works. Basically, if you screw up, how they can make you forfeit all of it or some of it, and the minimums for how much you had to have before you can redeem it, how you can redeem it, that kind of thing. So it just goes into more detail. And and well, y'all, I think that's about it. But in this video, I just wanted to give y'all kind of an idea of how these credit card terms are laid out, and kind of go over a real common one. That way, y'all get a little bit of an idea of what to expect when you apply for a card and get one of these. You can kind of look at it and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, there you are, folks. And with that, I'm going to head off, and y'all have a good one.